A routine traffic stop, a canine alert, a hidden compartment beneath crates of lettuce, 52 tons of methamphetamine, 273 arrests, a $2 billion cartel trucking empire destroyed. This is how the largest drug smuggling operation in American trucking history fell apart. 1. The traffic stop that started everything, April 2025. Interstate 10 outside San Antonio, Texas. A Texas Highway Patrol officer pulled over a Southwest Logistics refrigerated truck for routine inspection. The driver was calm, his logbook was perfect. The cargo manifest listed 20 tons of tomatoes headed for the Midwest. Everything appeared legal. But the K9 unit told a different story. The German Shepherd walked the perimeter of the trailer and sat down near the rear axle, a passive alert indicating the presence of narcotics. Officers were confused. They opened the trailer, moved the crates, checked the walls. Nothing. But dogs don't lie. They deployed a density scanner, a handheld device used to measure material thickness. The reading on the trailer floor was abnormal. Too dense, metal and organic material where there should have been only insulation and wood. Using heavy tools, they pried up the floorboards. Concealed in a custom-engineered void, 100 kilograms of methamphetamine. Vacuum sealed. Perfectly hidden. The driver was arrested immediately, interrogated for hours. But DEA agents observing through the glass realized something disturbing. He was genuinely terrified. He wasn't acting. He was an innocent pawn. This revelation changed everything. If the drivers didn't know about the contraband, the concealment had to be structural. The trucks were being built around the drugs. Special Agent Maria Rodriguez of the DEA Strategic Intelligence Division ordered a deep dive into the company's finances. What they found was shocking. 2. The company behind the trucks. Southwest Logistics wasn't a shell company. It was a real, profitable business operating for 15 years. They had 500 drivers, a massive maintenance yard in Texas, legitimate contracts to deliver fresh produce to Walmart, Costco, and Kroger, a pristine Department of Transportation safety record, on-time deliveries, corporate headquarters with glass walls and conference rooms, the perfect American success story. But the numbers didn't add up. Legitimate trucking revenue, $30 million annually. Operating costs, $25 million. Net profit, only $5 million. However, bank deposits showed $300 million entering company accounts over 2 years. The money was being funneled through a maze of shell companies and offshore accounts, all tracing back to Sinaloa cartel leadership. The cartel was subsidizing the legitimate side of the business to keep the trucks on the road as camouflage. Agent Rodriguez launched a high-risk surveillance operation, tracking all 250 company vehicles via GPS. A pattern emerged. 150 trucks drove normal routes, but 100 trucks, priority units, made unexplained stops at a separate maintenance building at the company yard. An undercover agent applied for a job as a mechanic, was hired, spent 3 months working inside the operation. He discovered that the maintenance building wasn't for repairs. It was a fabrication facility. Using a stolen key card, he gained access and found the smoking gun, blueprints for hydraulic lifts, and false floors. He documented mechanics welding secret compartments into trailer frames. These weren't amateur modifications. Each trap cost $50,000 to install and was designed to defeat X-ray scanners. The undercover agent also discovered a 2-tier driver system. Most drivers were innocent, but the priority drivers, those who knew about the loads, were receiving $10,000 cash bonuses per trip and using encrypted apps to coordinate with cartel handlers. The genius of the operation lay in its split fleet system. 150 trucks were entirely legitimate, hauling real produce, generating real revenue, maintaining the company's perfect safety rating. The other 100 trucks were priority units, modified in secret garages, fitted with hydraulic traps capable of hiding 200 kilograms of drugs per trip. For 2 years, 52 tons of poison rolled across American highways, literally beneath food destined for American dinner tables. The case was built. Federal prosecutors secured sealed indictments for 273 individuals under RICO statutes. They didn't want to stop one truck. They wanted to dismantle the entire company. 3. Operation Highway Harvest the Takedown, October 20th, 2025. 4 a.m. GPE screens at the Federal Command Center illuminated with 250 targets moving across 48 states. 400 federal agents from the DEA, FBI, and Highway Patrol were mobilized. At precisely 4:00 a.m., the order was issued. Execute Operation Highway Harvest. Across the nation, the trap snapped shut. On Interstate 10, a priority unit truck was illuminated by flashing lights of 3 unmarked D SUVs. The driver, a 10-year veteran of the company, pulled over, assuming it was another inspection. He didn't know his name was already on a federal indictment. As he stepped out of the cab, he was met by agents in tactical gear. Handcuffed against the side of his own truck while a specialized team began dismantling the trailer floor. Minutes later, they pulled out 50 kilograms of methamphetamine hidden beneath a pallet of avocados. This scene played out simultaneously on highways in 12 different states. Drivers were pulled from sleeper berths at truck stops. Others were intercepted at way stations. The coordination was absolute. In the first hour alone, federal agents secured over 50 trucks loaded with contraband. But the heart of the operation was in Texas, at the Southwest Logistics corporate headquarters. An FBI SWAT team breached the front glass doors of the office building. This wasn't a cartel safe house with barred windows. It was a modern corporate facility. The executives, men who wore expensive suits and attended Chamber of Commerce meetings, were pulled from their desks. The CEO was at his desk frantically trying to delete files from a secure server. Before he could complete the deletion, FBI cyber forensic agents secured the laptop, preserving crucial evidence. The CEO was arrested along with the CFO, VP of Operations, and Head of Logistics, men who drove luxury cars, lived in gated communities, and sat on charity boards. They had spent years believing their white-collar status would protect them from consequences. Simultaneously, another raid was happening at the company's maintenance depot, the Priority Garage. DEA tactical teams breached, catching mechanics red-handed in the middle of modifying a trailer frame, actively installing a hydraulic lift system. The garage yielded blueprints, fabrication schematics, invoices for specialized hydraulic pumps, and most damning, a work order list identifying the 100 trucks that had been modified to carry contraband. By 6:00 a.m., the scale became clear. 273 arrests nationwide. 53 priority trucks seized on highways. 47 more seized at the depot. 52 tons of methamphetamine removed from circulation. Street value, over $2 billion. But as the dust settled, a tragic reality emerged. 4. The innocent drivers. Nearly 500 drivers had been detained in the initial sweep, held in temporary processing centers. As interviews progressed, federal agents realized the heartbreaking truth. Approximately 150 of these drivers were completely innocent. Legitimate truckers who had been hired to haul produce and never knew that beneath their feet, millions of dollars in methamphetamine was hidden in the frame. These were men and women who had simply applied for a job, driven their assigned routes, and delivered their produce. They were pawns in a billion-dollar game. They stood on the side of highways, watching their trucks being towed away, realizing their employer was a criminal enterprise. The federal government moved quickly to rectify this injustice. In a rare move, the Department of Justice issued certificates of innocence to the cleared drivers, reinstating their licenses and assisting them in finding new employment with vetted carriers. The war was against the cartel, not the American trucker. But for the priority drivers, those who took the $10,000 bonuses and used encrypted phones, there was no mercy. They faced mandatory minimum sentences of 20 years. 5. The trials and sentencing. Trials for the executive leadership concluded in December 2025. Defense attorneys attempted to argue plausible deniability, claiming that rogue employees had infiltrated the company without executive knowledge. Prosecutor Jennifer Martinez destroyed that defense with a single piece of evidence: the shadow ledger. A digital file seized from the CEO's laptop that tracked the company's real finances. It showed that while legitimate trucking operations brought in $30 million, the Special Projects Division, the drug smuggling operation, covered the massive $25 million in operating costs. The executives didn't just know about the drugs, they budgeted for them. The jury deliberated for less than 4 hours. Guilty verdicts on all counts. The sentencing set a new precedent for corporate criminal liability. The CEO, CFO, and COO were sentenced to life in federal prison without the possibility of parole. The judge stated that they had weaponized the American supply chain and used the trust of American consumers as a shield for a cartel, a betrayal demanding the maximum penalty. The mechanics who built the traps, 15 to 30 years. The priority drivers who knowingly hauled poison, 20 to 40 years. Southwest Logistics as a corporate entity was dissolved. Asset forfeiture team seized everything, the 250 trucks, the corporate headquarters, bank accounts totaling $100 million. Even the office furniture was auctioned off, with proceeds funding victim compensation programs and border security operations. The economic damage to the Sinaloa cartel, over $3 billion. This included the drugs $2 billion, the assets $100 million, and the 15 years of time and effort invested in building a legitimate trucking front. 6. The aftermath A&D industry impact. This operation sent shockwaves through the retail industry. Major retailers like Walmart, Costco, and Kroger, who had unknowingly used Southwest Logistics for years, immediately implemented enhanced carrier vetting protocols. They now use third-party auditors to inspect the finances and fleets of their logistics partners to ensure they're not accidentally funding cartel fronts. The Southwest Logistics rule became a new industry standard, demanding deeper audits of trucking partners beyond simple safety records. The trucking industry itself underwent transformation. The Department of Transportation began deploying advanced mobile scanning units capable of detecting density anomalies in trailer floors without opening doors. Ground-penetrating radar sensors and X-ray trucks became more common at weigh stations. The hidden compartment that had fooled inspectors for 2 years was now a known vulnerability. Special Agent Maria Rodriguez, the architect of Operation Highway Harvest, received the highest commendations the agency could offer. Her investigation had done more than seize drugs. It exposed a systemic vulnerability in national infrastructure. Operation Highway Harvest proved that the war on drugs has evolved. It's no longer just about catching individuals with backpacks crossing the desert. It's about auditing the supply chain, scanning the infrastructure, recognizing that the truck in the lane next to you might be carrying poison disguised as groceries. The DEA and FBI sent a clear message to the cartels. You can build a legitimate company. You can run it for 15 years. You can pay your taxes. You can hide 50 tons of product in the most expensive high-tech compartments money can buy. But if you cross the line, the federal response will not be a fine. It will be annihilation. Southwest Logistics is gone. Its headquarters is an empty shell. Its executives are inmates. Its trucks are driving for someone else. The operation proved that the American supply chain is a battlefield. The enemies aren't just hiding in the shadows. Sometimes they're driving in the lane right next to you, wearing a uniform and waving a clipboard. But as long as there are agents willing to dig into ledgers, canines willing to trust their noses, and prosecutors willing to use the full weight of the law, the highways will be defended. This is what happens when a cartel thinks it can buy its way into the American economy. They find out that justice isn't for sale, it's enforced. The trucks are still rolling, the lettuce is being delivered, but the eyes of federal law enforcement are now watching the asphalt closer than ever before.